Good afternoon, one and all. So we are going to start today the lecture session number 8. So far, we have seen different types of control systems. We have seen the transfer function based modeling. So yesterday night, I have uploaded a lot of material. So please check the lectures wherever I have put the lecture. So I think lecture 2, lecture 4, lecture 7, everywhere I have added one or two written material and document. So you have to follow the book of M. Gopal. The book is already with you. Plus, you should have my writing material, written material. So it will help you preparing easily for the exams. So check all the 8 lectures. So I have uploaded so far 7 lectures. So lecture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wherever it is there, I think 3 documents I have uploaded yesterday night. So please check that. They are very well written documents and they will help you out for preparation of during preparation of exam. So theory is kind of covered. A lot of numericals we have to solve. So 2 extra session on numericals we will keep on Sunday. Okay, so I'll be solving a lot of numerical on your behalf. I will solve those numerical, and I think sir has uploaded one set of numerical in your classroom, that is common classroom. So check that question bank. It is little difficult numericals are given, it is for your practice, but don't get worried looking at those numericals. So all such difficult numericals we will solve also. I will solve, I'll upload, you will solve, so don't worry about that. So 1 or 2 extra sessions maybe we have to do, so that we will do in the next week. But today this is the theoretically theory, whatever syllabus is concerned, module 1. This is the last topics that we are going to study. We have seen mechanical model, electrical model, but number of numericals solved in electrical model was less. One numerical we have solved. Mechanical model, 4 5 different. So there are actually 3 types of numericals which will be asked in this chapter. One is that electrical modeling. One circuit we have done, but other circuits also will be in the same line. Okay, so that whatever I have done so far, all notes are uploaded. My handwritten notes scanned and uploaded. So if you understand all those things, whenever you are doing numericals in the next sessions, it will be easier for you to understand. So request is to go through all my written documents or lecture whatever is uploaded in YouTube and links sent to you. Listen to all the lectures carefully. So lecture 4 5 6 7, these are 4 things where numericals are solved. Please do that. So we are going to do 2 case studies today. So we have seen different types of control. We have seen closed loop control, open loop control, feed forward control, feedback control, then analog control and digital control. So we are going to see 2 types of control today. Mostly they are feedback control only. One is automobile driving, which is the analog type. It's a very simple car, and the way we control a car, that is the analog type. Nowadays all the cars are digitally controlled, but initially it used to be analog controlled. So that thing we have discussed first. And second is automatic aircraft landing system. That is a digital computer based control. Okay, so it's called a MIMO control, that is multi input, multi output. So both the things, they're different. Analog control, digital control, we have seen what is the difference. So analog feedback control and digital feedback control, main difference is there is a digital control block, computer block, there is a clock frequency, there is a ADC, DAC, all are connected in case of digital computer based control. So this is application. So what exactly are the applications that we are going to see here today? Okay, and you have to follow the book of Gopal or in Gopal first chapter only. You'll be finding a lot of explanations are given on different types of control. So 2 we have chosen from that. Let us go through. So whatever I have got from the book, those data directly I have taken the screenshot and I have put it here. So for exam, very important thing in exam also, this questions will be asked from these 2 topics. So till last year, we did not used to ask questions from case studies, though we had to ask. So case study concept is newly introduced in your syllabus, and questions will be asked in exam from case study also. Okay, so whatever is the schematic of this, whatever is the design concepts, all other thing can be asked. So if you see this PPT and whatever things are given in this PPT, this will be uploaded today itself in your Google Classroom. Please follow that. Okay, so let us see the first type. So 2 controls are there. First type is automobile driving control. So this is your syllabus. We have so far seen the first three types of differences: the transfer function based modeling, property, advantage, disadvantage, what is electrical and mechanical. So in mechanical there are translational as well as rotational, and all the transfer function based modeling we have done. First we have found out the differential equation, and then we have taken the Laplace transform of that. Output S divided by input S, we have found the transfer function. So at least some or the other thing we have done from all these topics. Force voltage force current equation we have seen only for one circuit, so for more number of circuits we have to do that. And torque voltage torque current, so yesterday specifically I did not tell you about torque voltage torque current, but yes, the table was shown to you where torque is equivalent to the force in mechanical thing, and force is equivalent to Fv. So if you know Fv, that is same as Tv. If you know Fi, that is same as Ti. So these two things are remaining. One is analog type automobile driving control system, that is mechanical system modeling. This is an analog type controller. And second one is digital computer based control, that is automatic aircraft landing system. So we are starting with the first type, that is the analog type of control. You will find it in the book of M. Gopal, whichever is uploaded to you. That is the main textbook. That is page number 3. You will find it. So the system to be controlled has two inputs. That is the first thing we have to understand. So one is direction, that which direction has to go. So car can deviate and all these things. So there's a direction. Front wheel is giving the control, and second one is speed. Okay, so these are the two things mainly we control by means of steering and accelerator. So by pressing the accelerator, we are controlling the speed, and with the steering, we are controlling the direction. So these two are the main inputs which are taken into the control logic. So set points, okay, set points are coming from two things. One is the direction of the wheel or direction of the steering, and second thing is the speed limit, that is the accelerator. Okay, so hence there are two loops you can find out. So there will be two controlling variable, and there are two set points. Some buses you might have seen for state government and all, speed limit is fixed. Okay, so they do some mechanical arrangement there, and they set fixed speed limit as maybe 60 kilometer per hour or 70 kilometer per hour or something. So either we can do it mechanically or we can do it by electronic means. That speed limit has to be kept at 60 kilometer per hour. Why are you doing speed limit? Because if you are making the speed at certain limit, then the chances of accidents are less. So if we are keeping the speed at a certain limit, by speed is nothing but gain of the system. So this is one thing you have to understand. And whenever gain of the system is controlled, actually you are controlling the stability. So speed is less means gain is less, energy input to the system is less means stability of the system is more. So if we can keep the speed maximum at 60 kilometer per hour or 70 kilometer per hour, so we are limiting the speed even on the highway, then we are actually inputting less energy comparatively to the system. We are keeping less gain to the system, and we are keeping the system at a stable condition. So all these things are given. So these are the inputs given to the control logic, which is the brain. And first control logic has to control the vehicle. Now vehicle, I told you there are two controls. One is at pedal and another is at steering. So there should be two actuators. So one actuator is controlling the steering wheel position. Another actuator is controlling the accelerator brake position. So if you are pressing accelerator, that means automatically brake is being controlled. So less brake means more acceleration, more brake means less acceleration. So whichever actuator, this is at your foot right side. So in the car, there are three points of control mainly at your leg. Left side is clutch, middle is brake, and right side is accelerator. So that accelerator, brake position, accelerator and brake, both these things are at your control. So that actuator is there, which is connected to brake and accelerator. By that you are controlling the speed of the vehicle. And steering position, you are looking at the road, you are finding road is taking turn, so you have to take turn right, left, onward. So there is a sensor there connected with the steering wheel also. So as soon as you are giving some kind of steering movement, that is sensing. So those who are driving car, they note that there is an indicator. Okay, suppose if I want to take left direction movement, so I turn on indicator, and after you take the left turn, automatically the indicator stops. How do that happen? Because there is a sensor connected with the steering as well. So first, before you are taking the turn, you are switching that indicator on. So if you are turning left, you are turning the left back indicator on, so that whoever person is coming from your back, he understands that you are going to take a left turn. Okay, now you have taken the turn, and after that turn you don't switch it off automatically, that indicator is switched off. But all these things are kind of a digital control, can be implemented using analog control as well, so not a problem. So I think these two actuators, these two sensors are understood. So first one is actuator at the hand for the wheel position, second is actuator at the foot, that is the brake and accelerator. So here, what is the disturbance? So disturbance can be wind, disturbance can be traffic, whichever is there in front of you. So some car which is in front of you may be going very slow. Okay, so that car is also a disturbance, but you should keep your vehicle steady. Okay, likewise. So in this case, there are two outputs. One is heading. Heading means whatever is the direction of your vehicle, that is the heading. So that is actually related to the wheel position. So you should go straight, you should go as long as the path. And second one is speed. Okay, so if there is a car in front of you, if there is too much of wind, more you are going inside the wind, more will be the opposition force. So in that case, we drive slow. Okay, so if there is heavy opposition wind, and if you are trying to drive into the wind, and if you are trying to drive very fast, in that case you will be feeling more resistance offered by the wind towards you. So there are mainly two three opposition forces. One opposition force is in the tire. So tire is producing some kind of friction on the tire and surface on which the tire is rotating. So because of that, the vehicle speed reduces. Second one is the drag force, aerodynamic drag, which is the opposition which is coming to you. That is the second thing. And third thing, if you are climbing on a hill, okay, if you are climbing on a hill, at that time the gradient, so gradient is backward, I'm trying to go up and the gradient is backwards. In that case, the weight of the vehicle is also creating some kind of negative drag on the car. So these are the main three types of drag or opposition force offered on the car. First is by the wind, second is by the tire rotation and tire friction on the ground, and third thing, if the road is flat, then there is no gradient, so weight is not a problem because road is flat, or if you're going down. But if you're climbing up, in that case the weight of the car is creating a negative pull or backward pull for the car. Okay. So what the system is? The system is to be controlled as two inputs, steering and acceleration, and two control outputs, heading and speed. Heading means direction of the vehicle, and speed. So we have to maintain the speed. The two common inputs are the direction of the highway, speed limits with traffic signal. Block diagram of this two input two output system is shown here. So these are the two inputs, direction in which you have to go, how much speed you have to maintain, and heading is the output of the direction. So you are heading in the same direction and with a certain speed. Okay, so there's a closed loop system. You can find there are two loops. One is the speed loop. So there is a speed sensor here. So you can add a block here. Okay, so I would suggest whenever you are drawing this diagram in the exam, you draw two blocks. Okay, in the feedback path. In the speed path, you draw the block and say that this is a speed sensor, and in the heading, you can put another block and you can say that this is position sensor of the that is the steering. So these are the two sensors you can add in the feedback path. So it's a multi-loop system or it's a two-loop system. Automobile driving control system, it is there. So let us find some theory. It is saying the system with more than one input, more than one controlled output and command input are called as multi-variable or multi-input, multi-output system. So there are mainly two types of system. One is called a SISO, single input, single output. So whatever temperature control and all these things we had seen in our second or third lecture, temperature is coming in the room and you are controlling it. So AC, it's a SISO system, single input, single output. And here there are two inputs we are controlling. So we are controlling speed, we are controlling direction. It is called as two input or multi-input MIMO system. So on the other hand, single input, single output system, a single output is controlled by a single input. Multi-variable system, input that is meant to control a particular output also affects the other controlled output. So in this case, what they are saying is the two variables that we are controlling sometimes may be interrelated. So in this case, speed and direction, they might not be directly related, but suppose in a kind of a boiler. So if you are boiling some sugar cane, so let's say it's a sugar producing plant, and in that case there is a boiling of sugar is going on, and in that case you are trying to control the pressure and temperature within that boiler. So in that case, this pressure and temperature is interrelated. So in this case, the direction and the speed, they might not be interrelated, but sometimes these two factors can be interrelated. So that is the thing what they're saying, that an input that is meant to a particular output affects the other controlled outputs as well. So each of them might be having an interrelation. In that case, control becomes a little bit tricky. Okay, so this coupling is called as interaction. So there can be interaction between the parameters. So in this case, we are keeping, and if they are not interrelated, it is called orthogonal. So two vectors, when they are exactly 90-degree, projection of y vector is not coming on x vector, then these two things are called as orthogonal. That means one thing is not affecting the other. Suppose how good I teach or how bad I teach, a student always fails. That means my teaching does not affect his knowledge or passing. In that case, my teaching and his performance is orthogonal. Whatever I do, he fails. Okay. So whenever two variables, they don't interact with each other, they don't affect each other, it is called as an orthogonal parameter. And if they are having some interaction, it is called as correlation. So they might be having some correlation. The automobile driving system is a MIMO system, multi-input, multi-output. We can decouple this system into two CISO systems. So you can see that here, I can separate out the speed loop and I can separate out the heading or the direction loop. Okay, I can separate it out, but now it is looking like a two input, two output system. So we can decouple the system into two CISO system for the purpose of design, because the interaction is negligible. If the interaction is negligible, then only you can separate out the two loops. But if heading and speed, they are interrelated, then it is very difficult to separate out the two loops into two separate loops. Okay. So steering control affects the heading and not the speed. So by steering, we are not controlling the speed. By steering, we are controlling the direction. And the accelerator control affects the speed and not the heading. Heading means direction. So very clearly you can understand whether the two inputs are orthogonal, uncorrelated, or they are correlated. So in this case, steering and heading, they are uncorrelated. That means which direction I am supposed to go and how much speed I am supposed to go. So these two things are not related. That's why it is easier in this MIMO system to represent it as a two CISO systems. Okay. So, however, braking of the vehicle for speed control decreases the side forces and the tire road interface for direction control. And with locked wheels, the direction control is completely lost. So, sometimes in the new car or in the current digitally controlled car, where there is something called as ECU, electronic control unit, and there is something called as anti-lock braking system, ABS, and there is something called as traction control, so TRC. All these things you will find everywhere. The microcontroller based system is actually controlling the vehicle performance. So in that case, all these parameters becomes kind of correlated. Okay, so how well you are pushing the brake. If you are suddenly pushing the brake, in that case, sometimes what happens is we lost control. Okay, so in that case, you are, or if you suddenly increase the speed, what we find is we lose control and make accident, or the car goes flying. Okay, so in this case, what we are finding is they are not totally orthogonal, they are not totally uncorrelated. Okay, the direction and speed, somehow they are correlated. So whatever they are saying, they, however, braking of the vehicles for speed control decreases the side forces and the tire road interface for directional control with locked wheels. So all these things are trying to explain that speed and direction are not entirely uncorrelated. I'll repeat, speed and direction are not entirely uncorrelated. Somehow they are correlated. Too much speed to less speed, sometimes we lose control of the vehicle. Suddenly गाड़ी गड्ढे में जाता है, we lose the steering control. Okay, so all these things are saying that some parameters might be correlated. So not every time it is possible to separate out the two single loops. Okay, not every time it is possible. So if we consider this interaction negligible, so these two factors, then we can consider the vehicle heading control is a decoupled CISO system. So two coupled system, heading and speed, can be decoupled. Okay, so with no interaction with the vehicle speed control system. What it means is not every time all the parameter will be we cannot decouple it, not every time. Sometimes we can, sometimes we cannot. And while we are doing the second chapter, block reduction technology, then we will understand what is meant by interaction. So when two loops are interacting, when two loops are not interacting, If two loops are interacting, then how to separate them out? All these processes we will understand in the second chapter, that is block reduction technology. So in block reduction technique, generally they ask a 10-mark question, you solve it, get the answer, G1, G2, G3 and transfer function correct. That is one way of looking at the thing, but main thing is block reduction technique, you have to understand actually how the one parameter and other parameter they are interacting with each other. So you will see that. This is the last slide in analog control, that is automobile control, the command inputs. So there are two command inputs, one is speed, another is the vehicle direction. So the command inputs for an automobile on the road cannot be constant, cannot have constant set points. You cannot say that always I will be running with 30 kilometers per hour or always I'll be running with 100 kilometers per hour. It cannot happen because it's a dynamic system. That's why for vehicles it is very important to have an adaptive controller. So there are different types of controller. One of them is very important, adaptive controller. So in day and night, in good road or bad road, in sunny day or rainy day, every time your control strategy change. So you cannot say that I will always be driving with 100 km per hour speed. Not possible. It changes depending on the situation. So that's why they are saying the command inputs. That means how much speed you will be running and the direction. I'll be always running straight or I'll be always running left. You cannot say. It depends on the road. So these inputs depend on the traffic and road conditions and vary in an uncontrolled manner. So if you are going in a road which you have never traveled before, so you don't know where suddenly there will come a turn or there will be a slope or there will be a hill. So every time you have to keep on adapting, or your vehicle has to keep on adapting. The actual signal inputs to the system are derived by the driver from the actual road and traffic condition. So we are the best brain. Actual brain is there inside the car, which is microcontroller, but that is also at our disposal. So main brain or main controller in the whole system is the driver. And the way the driver perceives that what is the car condition, what is the road condition, depending on that, we instruct the vehicle. And the controller inside the vehicle that actually takes our command, that interprets it into a mechanical language, and that interpreted mechanical language is given to all the different system components of the vehicle, and vehicle components act accordingly. So the actual signal inputs to the system are derived from the driver, from the actual road and traffic condition. The human operator, that is the driver subsystems, will therefore be a component in the overall control systems of the automobile. So our perception, our capability, our driving capability is the main thing, and we are actually making the car controller as a slave. So we are the master controller, car is a slave controller. I think you have heard of master slave kind of a controller configuration, or master slave flip-flop you have studied. So one is a master controller, one is a slave controller. So while driving the car, we are the master controller, and vehicle, inside vehicle there is a digital controller, so that is the slave controller, like that. Okay, so the desired course and speed of compared with the measurement of the actual course of speed in order to generate a measurement of the error. So we want this much speed, but speed is now less. So whatever set point we are doing at any point by pressing the accelerator. So accelerator I'm pressing means I'm desiring for more speed. So whatever is the current speed, that has to be increased. So this comes through the loop in the feedback. Feedback checks that yes, accelerator is pressed. That means the driver is asking for more speed. So speed will increase. Or if I want to turn left, I'll give a left indicator, or I will just rotate the accelerator in the left side. Car will understand it and car will rotate left. So continuously I am changing the control input or command input given to the vehicle. So that's why it is said that the desired course and speed are compared with the measurement of the actual course and speed. There is the actual output, and it will generate a measurement of error signal. This error signal will go to the controller, it will be manipulated, so steering wheel position, accelerator, brake position in a manner to control logic which reduces the absolute error. So it's a continuous process. If I'm driving a car for 2 hours, continuously I will be driving, and continuously I will be giving the command input. Car will check with the actual output and the command input, find the error signal, so it's a negative feedback kind of a thing, and it will keep on doing the correction. So that correction loop and all those things continuously, if I'm driving for 2 hours, it will keep on going on, and the car will go to the destination. So this is the case study 1, which is a analog control. You have to remember this block diagram. This is a very simple block diagram of feedback type of, or negative feedback. How do you know negative? Because all the feedbacks are coming as negative. like this. So there is a negative feedback kind of a closed loop control system, or negative feedback control system, or analog control system. So if in the exam they are asking explain analog control system or closed loop control system or negative feedback control system, you can draw this diagram. Okay, so always explain with respect to a example. So don't just draw the block diagram and say this is the input, this is the output. No, so draw this diagram. So listen to the instructions carefully. Whenever in the exam they're asking either feedback control or closed loop control or analog control, okay, draw this diagram and explain with the help of a example, so it will be easier for you to understand. And everybody knows vehicle, everybody knows car, so it will be easier for everybody to understand what is feedback control system or analog control system or closed loop control system. But whenever you are explaining analog control system, don't say that there is a digital controller inside the vehicle. Don't say that, because as soon as you are saying digital controller, digital sensor, it goes into the digital domain, which we are going to see next. So next is our case study number 2. It is called as a digital computer control or computerized control. What is that? We have seen already the block diagram of digital. Output is analog, so that is coming at the input of the digital control system. So first there is a ADC converter, or there is a sample and hold circuit, then there is a ADC, then there is a controller. Controller output is digital, but the actuator is analog. So at the output of the controller there should be a digital to analog converter that will generate an analog signal that will go to the actuator. Actuator will give the signal to plant. So this is how the digital controller works. So we will see what is a digital control, digitized computerized control first, and then we will see the example of automatic flight landing system that is computer based. So there are 5-6 more slides, we will see that. In some examples of the control system of high level of complexity, that is robot manipulator, missile launching, guidance systems, they are high-end digitized computer-based controller. It is seen that such control systems need a digital controller or control system digitally process a number of inputs. So many inputs are there that has to be processed within a smaller time. A decision has to be made, more purified, higher-end decision has to be made. We use digital controller. So in that case, number of control signals so as to manipulate several plant variables. So in this control system, signal in certain parts of the plant are analog. So output is analog, feedback is analog, but the control is digital. So there should be an interface between this digital control and analog output and analog error signal. That's why we need DAC and ADC. So from different parts of the plant are analog, that is continuous function of time variable. Analog means CT signal, continuous time signal. While the computer actually is handling the data, and it's actually digital or discrete form. So digital and discrete, I told you. Digital means discrete means what? X-axis. So first output occurs at 0, then 1, then 2, then 3. What is 0, 1, 2, 3? They are different sampling instances. So in discrete signal in X-axis, output occurs in the sampling instances. First 0, then delta TS, then 2 delta TS, then 3 delta TS, 4 delta TS. We call it as sampling instant 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Between sampling instant 0 and 1 in discrete signal, nothing happens. Okay, like that. But what is discrete signal? Y-axis can have any amplitude. Okay, so x-axis is quantized 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the deltas at which the output is occurring. But the amplitude of the output can be anything. Okay, it can have any level. It can be even negative also. This is discrete. What is meant by digital? Digital x-axis is like that. That is 0, 1, 2, 3. So at every instant of time, the output will happen. And level in the output will be only 2. Either it will be 0 or 1. 0 or 1 does not mean that 0 volt or 5 volt. 0 or 1 can be 2 states, plus 12 or minus 12. So output can have only 2 levels. One is state 0, another is state 1. There will be nothing other than 0 and 1. So this is the difference between discrete and digital. You should understand. Digital is quantized. Quantized means fixed. It will follow that format only. So digital signal is quantized in both x-axis and y-axis. Because x-axis the outputs will be produced only in a certain delta TS, that is sampling time instant, and y-axis the output cannot be anything other than 0 and 1. This is digital signal. What is discrete signal? X-axis is quantized, that is output will be happening only at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at every sampling instant, but output is anything. Output can be positive, negative, samples can be having any value. Okay, likewise. So this is the difference between digital and discrete. This requires signal discretization and analog to digital interface in form of ADC and DAC. So first step of digitization is discretization. Whenever you do sampling, we convert a continuous analog signal into discrete signal. After discretization happens quantization, and after quantization happens coding, and analog signal is completely converted into digital signal. To begin with, we will consider a simple form of digital control system known as sampled data control system. So first they are explaining actually what is meant by digital control system. So output is analog, it is coming back, command input is analog, there is a negative feedback, error signal is generated ET. Now this is the sample and hold circuit. So sample and hold circuit is like a chopper, on off on off on off. Whenever it is getting connected, so this on off is controlled by a MOS switch of very high frequency, that is actually deciding the sampling time T. So whenever it is closed for time T, input goes to the output, and whenever it is open, input is not going to the output. So every time it is getting connected, input is coming to the sampler. So that is actually the first step of digitization. Then after discretization happens uh, quantization, and finally happens coding, and coded or digitized output go to the controller. Controller is a digital controller, it takes a decision accordingly and it produces a digital output. So here all those things are not shown. Digital output is converted again to analog by means of a DAC, and that is given to the actuator, and that is given to the plant. So it's a very simple kind of sample data control system they have shown. But if it is digital control system, two more blocks, that is ADC here and DAC here, has to be shown. So to begin with, we'll consider simple. Actually, this is not a digital control. They have shown a sampled data control system. Okay, like this, the block diagram of such a system, a single feedback loop is illustrated, wherein the sampler samples. There is a sampler, error signal T at every T second. Sampler is an electronic switch. So that switch can be a MOS switch, it can be a BJT, IGBT switch. Okay, the output is discretized version of the analog error signal and is a train of pulses. So train of pulses related numerical you have done in signals and systems of a certain frequency, with a strength of each pulse being that of error signal amplitude at the beginning of the sample period. The sampled signal is passed through a data hold on its filtered value and all those things. The smooth out of control signal UT is then given to the plant. So here it is discretized, then data digitized, and output is produced in a discrete manner or digital manner. It is again converted to analog and it is given to the plant. So this is a kind of a sampled signal based control. It is not completely digitized control, but it is a sampled signal based control. Now here the digital control is shown. So this is for a multivariable control. So you can check here, like the vehicle, we were controlling 4 parameters. So here 4 set points. So there is a multivariable negative feedback system, you can say. Okay, instead of 1, they have shown 4 variables. So feedback is there, feedback element, sensor is there, there is a controller likewise. So it is seen that the computer control is needed in large and complex control schemes dealing with a number of inputs, outputs, variables, and feedback channels. So maybe we are controlling one very big plant, okay, like the Reliance plant in Jamnagar. Okay, it's acres of area, hundreds of acres of area the plant is stretched about, and then many inputs are coming from many boiler, distiller, condenser, and all, and it is coming to the one controller or SCADA system, and you are supposed to control all the parameter at one time. So in that case, we cannot go for analog controller. In that case, we have to go for multi-capability digital control. So many variables are coming, many input variables, many feedback, many output. So this is borne out to be the example of 1.9 to 1.1. So further chemical plant, a number of variables like temperature, pressure, fluid flow, all those things. So I tell you now, if you are having pen and paper, you write down. So there are 4 things for industrial control parameter. It is called as, first is temperature, which is the slowest parameter. So write it down. First is temperature, which is the slowest parameter. So these are mainly 4 industrial parameters which we control. So which one is slowest and which one is fastest? So first one is temperature, T, which is slowest parameter. Then there comes pressure. So it can be liquid pressure, it can be pressure on something. So pressure is little faster than temperature, but it's still slow. Then there comes uh, fluid level. So in industrial, there are a lot of containers which are continuously being filled up or emptied. So there should be a level sensor. So first is temperature, which is slowest, little faster is pressure, then little faster is a liquid level, and fastest system is fluid flow. So fluid flow can be gas flow, air flow, liquid flow, all these things. So mainly these are the 4 parameters we are sensing, which is called FLTP. In industrial term, it is called as FLTP. FLTP means flow, level, temperature, pressure. Okay, so temperature is the slowest, little bit faster is pressure, little bit faster is liquid level, and fastest is the uh, liquid level, liquid flow or fluid flow. So those many things from industrial chemical plants are actually to be controlled after the information on the throughput. Throughput means output. Its quality and its constitutional compositions has been analyzed online. Such systems are referred to as a multivariable control systems whose general block diagram is shown below. So this can be the industrial plant diagram, and here you can say that what are the parameters. So all the four parameters can be temperature, pressure, liquid level, and liquid flow. So this four can be FLTP system. So the same kind of a multivariable control systems where a few variables are to be controlled with a limited number of commands and control algorithms. Now there are four parameters, and four parameters are having different time frame. Temperature does not change over time quite fast, but fluid flow, it changes very fast. That means fastness of the controller varies depending on the parameter whichever we are going to use. So temperature not necessary to be tracked very continuously or not necessary to be controlled very continuously, but whenever we are talking about fluid flow or fluid level, that changes very fast. Like we are making a making tea at home, and we are heating the milk. Okay, we have to stand there, just you leave there and दूध गर्म होके निकल जाता है. So that is why some parameters are there which are to be watched very closely. Okay, and some parameters are there. What is the temperature of the day? Who cares? Temperature increases or decreases does not matter. Okay, so temperature is a very slow process. Temperature is a very overlooked process. हम लोग उतना ध्यान नहीं देते उसके ऊपर. But yes, sometimes somebody is getting fever. In that case, 99, 100, 101. So 1 degree Fahrenheit change in the body temperature matters a lot. Okay, so likewise, so depending on the parameter, depending on the range, its importance, its fastness, slowness, all this thing varies. So variable are to control with limited number of commands, and control algorithm is a moderate complexity. So they are talking different things about the plant. And the plant process to be controlled as a given physical location. A general purpose computer chip microcontroller is commonly employed. Such systems are known as microprocessor based control system. Of course, at the input output interface, ADC DAC converter would be required. So now they are entering slowly to the digital computerized control. So ADC and DAC is required. ADC is required at the input of the controller, the digital controller, and DAC is required at the output of the digital controller. For large systems, a central computer is employed for simulations control of several subsystems, wherein certain hierarchies are manipulated, keeping a view at the overall system objectives. So if you want perfect control, computer control is a very big thing, because automatically it can take its own decision depending on the algorithm that you feed into it. So first, what you want, you have to decide. You feed, you program that, and you feed in the controller. It will be acting accordingly. So without human intervention, continuously, it can act. Okay. So additional functions like supervisory control, fault recording, data logging, etc., are become possible. We shall advance, and there are three examples. They are talking about computerized control, but we will talk about one, and that is nothing but the automatic aircraft landing system. Most critical part in aircraft. So driving a aircraft or flying a aircraft is easy, taking off is easy, but landing is the most important thing, and most of the accidents that occur is during landing. Okay, so the automatic aircraft landing system is a simplified diagram which is shown in the next slide. The system consists of three basic parts: the aircraft, the radar unit, and the controlling unit. So controlling unit is within the aircraft, the whole body, and the radar. So now in exam it might be asked, listen carefully. The radar unit measures the approximate vertical and lateral position of the aircraft. Both are important. Okay, so what will be the pathway that the aircraft is coming? What exactly the pathway it is going to take and to land? So it should not deviate much in either direction, vertical as well as horizontal. So there are sensors which are sensing the vertical and horizontal position of the aircraft. So which are then transmitted to the controlling unit. Okay, from the measurements and controlling unit, it calculates the approximate pitch and the bank commands. So that means how much it has to down itself, how much it has to keep itself, so which direction it has to keep. So all the position information. So there are accelerometer, there are gyros, all the sensors you are knowing, because all the sensors are there in our mobile as well. Okay, as soon as you are shifting the mobile position, you get different positions. Okay, if you are shaking the mobile, you know how much vibration your mobile is getting shaken at. So there are different sensors which try to find out what is the position, what is the yaw, what is the elevation, what is the diagonal. All those things are found out by the sensors, and it is given to the controller. So from these measurements, the controlling unit calculates approximate pitch and bank commands. Okay, so these commands are then transmitted to the aircraft autopilots, which in turn cause the aircraft to respond. Okay, so it finds out the plane is going like this. It has to first nosedive. So first it has to incline itself towards down like this. So how much inclination, all these things has to be calculated. Assuming that the lateral control system and the vertical control system, they are independent. Vertical control system and lateral, so this is lateral movement, this is how lateral movement happens, and this is how vertical movement happens, and there is no relationship between them. This is the assumption. Assuming that the lateral control and the vertical control are independent or decoupled, we shall consider only the lateral control system whose block diagram is given in figure 11.5b, so 1.15b. So only the horizontal control, okay, that we will see. The aircraft lateral position YT is the lateral distance from the aircraft from the extended center line of the landing area. So actually the runway, wherever the plane lands, there is a central position. So it is marked with a central line. I think you have done ED. There they had marked a central line. So dashed lines. Okay. So the wheel exactly has to hit that central line. And both the sides of the central line, the wings and all these things should be equally spaced. So always, whenever the plane is landing, first it positions itself exact the center point of the aircraft is looking exactly to the center line for landing. Okay, and then it is calculated whether my wheels are exactly aligned to the center line or not. So that is why this line is very important. Aircraft lateral position YT, okay, is the lateral distance from the aircraft from the extended center line of the landing area on the deck of the aircraft carrier. The control systems attempts to force YT to 0. Okay. So whatever is the center position of the landing wheel or the nose of the aircraft, that and center line of the runway should be perfectly matched. So the error should be 0. Radar unit measures the YKT. So previously it was YT, it was a continuous time signal. Now it has become discretized signal. So K is the sampling instance. So now you are doing the digital control system. You have to represent all the YT in terms of YKT, and then it will be converted to YN. So YT to YKT is the process of discretization. So it is sampled the value of YT with different values. So you can see here, this is the aircraft, and this is the transmitter. So aircraft is having transmitter receiver. Controlling unit is somewhere outside. This is the air traffic control, and this is the radar. Okay, so this thing, radar, from radar it is getting the signal that what is the position of the aircraft and other thing, and lateral position and vertical position, and we are assuming that lateral and vertical positions are different. So radar actually first senses what is the lateral position and vertical position of the aircraft. That aircraft is coming and it is asking for landing. And there may be 10 runways. Which runway it wants to land, that information has to be converted by the radar and given to the controlling unit. Now controlling unit is in the feedback path, and it then generates command, bank command and pitch command. So bank command means how much to incline, pitch, which direction it has to rotate itself. All those things are produced that you get down at this runway. Okay, you incline yourself this much, you shift yourself this much. So all these instructions are given to the aircraft through the transmitter. Okay, and transmitter position is captured by the radar. So this is the closed loop. Radar gives it to the controlling unit. Controlling unit finds the correction. Suppose the aircraft is deviated a little bit, then the controlling unit will tell the aircraft, okay, you shift yourself to the left side by 10 meters and all those things. So all those signals are transmitted to the aircraft by the controlling unit. And this is actually the step. And then right side there is coming the lateral landing system control. So here this is the radar noise. So in the radar, whenever it is storing some data, some noise is getting added. Okay, so this is a radar noise. It is picking up how much is the aircraft lateral position. So YT is picked up by the radar. It is giving it to the digital lateral digital controller. So this digital controller is there in this controlling unit, which is there in the ground, and this is actually giving the data hold. So this through the transmitter it is giving to the aircraft, and this is the aircraft controller. So this is the outside controller. This is the aircraft controller. two signals are giving. So this is also a CISO system or MIM, no, not a CISO, this is a MIMO system, multi-input, multi-output. So two things are given, one is bank, another is pitch. That means how much rotation, how much position, lateral position, all those things are corrected. So whatever is shown in the left side in a technical language, it is shown in the right side. So whatever is the radar unit is producing YKT. So it is first sensing the position YT, then converting it into discretized signal YKT. Some noise is getting added because of radar is a system. Every system adds some noise, and this discretized signal from the radar about the position of the aircraft is being given to the controller. Controller also desired position of landing is given. So there is a set point. So controller is having the desired set point. Okay. Now this lateral controller is finding out whatever is the position sensed by the radar and whatever is the desired position, are the same or they are different. If they are different, they are produce an error signal, and this error signal about bank command, pitch command, it is being transmitted to the aircraft. And in the aircraft, this signal is taken first. It is again converted to discretized, because this part, lateral digital controller on these things, so they are actually converted to discretized, digitized, and they are actually given to the aircraft. That you are not on the course, there is some deviation between your position and required position, so please shift yourself, change your position, angle, all these other things, so that you will be able to land in a very proper manner. And finally the plane lands on the runway on the same central line properly. So this is actually automatic aircraft landing system. Only horizontal system we have talked about. So this is the last thing. T is equal to 0.05 seconds. That means at any instant. Okay, at T is equal to 0, K is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. That means first instant is 0, then second instant is 0.05, third instant is 0.1, fourth instant is 0.15. So every 0.05 second the correction is happening. Just imagine how fast the correction is happening and how many sample of data is being produced. So every 0.05 second there is a control command, update, feedback, all those things are generated. So T is equal to 0.05 second. This is the sampling instant, delta TS. The digital controller processes the sampled values and generates the discrete bank command. Okay, constant bank means how much is the slope, banking. Okay, bank command constant at the last value received until the next value is received. Okay. Thus the bank command is updated every 0.05 second. That means how much should be the nose angle, how much should be the nose angle towards bottom. So flight flies like this, before landing it becomes inclined like this. So how much should be this angle so that it can land properly? That is the banking angle. Okay, that information is updated at every 0.05 second. That means 1 second 20 messages are there. That means in 1 minute 1200 sample messages are being exchanged. Okay. So the bank command is updated every 0.05 second, which is called the sampling period. The aircraft responds to the bank command, which changes the lateral position of YT. It may be noted here that the lateral digital controller must be able to compute the control signal within the sampling period. So as soon as the signal is coming within the next 0.05 second, it should be able to process the whole signal and produce the output. So whatever previous input comes, it should be processed within 0.05 second and output should be produced. Because whatever input comes, and if you are taking, if the microcontroller is taking more than 0.05 second to produce output for that feedback, then there is no point. Okay, so sampling instant is less means what? Very fast the feedback will come and the controller should be faster in taking the action. So you are generating very fast feedback inputs, but control is taking quite a lot of time. Like you are writing the exam for improvement. You are writing the exam, but I am checking the answer paper after 1 year. So this process, no feedback can happen because I should check the paper very fast and I should give you before the next exam. Then only you will be able to understand your mistake and you will be able to correct yourself. So it is the same thing. Whenever the feedback is generated, the processor should process it very fast, and that feedback, whatever has come, the effect of that should get reflected in the output. Then only the feedback is having some meaning. So that is why they are telling us every 0.05 second, which is called the sampling period, the aircraft responds to the bank command, which changes the lateral position. It may be noted that the lateral digital controller must be able to compute within next feedback. The controller should compute and show it in the result. Able to compute the control signal within the one sampling period. This is the computational stringency imposed on the central computer in all online computer control systems. So what you have heard of one thing which is called as real-time control. What is meant by real-time control? This is what is called as real-time control. Whatever input comes to you, within the next sampling period of time, execution should be done. That is called as real-time control or online control. What is meant by offline control? You get the data, process gets over, बाद में तुम बैठ के आराम से solve करते रहो and control देते रहो. So that is offline control. So not every process can afford to have offline control. This aircraft landing system, it has to be an online or real-time control. Whenever the feedback is coming, as fast as possible, you have to give the correction and take the next feedback and again correct it. Two unwanted inputs called as disturbances appear into the system. Okay, they are wind gust affecting the position of the aircraft. So at every point there will be coming a gusty wind, and that will be changing the position of the aircraft. So that effect has to be nullified. And second thing, radar noise. This is a very important question which might be asked: which are the disturbances that is affecting the accuracy of the automatic landing system? So number one is a gusty wind. Every time it is coming and changing the position of the aircraft. So feedback has come and it is producing it to the output, but by that time a wind has come and has shifted the position of the aircraft. Those who are watching cricket, they are finding that sometimes the fielder is missing the catch because the catch is on the up and the fielder is positioning below the ball, but there comes a gusty wind and ball deviates. Okay, the same thing happens in case of aircraft also, though after doing everything very correctly, if there comes a gusty wind and it just shifts the position of the aircraft in one side, so there might occur some accident. Okay, so these are two disturbances and you cannot avoid it. So your controller should be smart enough to nullify the effect of this gusty wind as well as the radar noise. So these are wind gust affecting the position of the aircraft, and number two is the radar noise present in the measurement of the aircraft position. So radar noise will keep on coming. It's a digital system. Radar is a very big system. Many things are affecting it. EME, that is electromagnetic noise, and these and that. Okay, but that should not affect the overall measurement to a greater extent. So there are different noise removal technology itself is a very big matter of study. Noise removal technology, filtering technology, all those things. So these are labeled as disturbances in the figure. So previous figure, there are two disturbances. One is from the radar and another is expressed here, that is a gusty wind. So the system has to be designed to mitigate means solve the effects of disturbances caused by the gusty wind as well as by the radar, so that the aircraft lands within acceptable limits of lateral accuracy. So there might be some deviation, but the deviation should not exceed a pre-decided level. Okay, so this is all about the two of the case studies and prepare it from this only. So in book also, if you see only this much is given, so you prepare these two block diagrams. Whenever they are asking for analog or feedback or negative feedback controller, you explain this block diagram, explain what is MIMO system, what is CISO system, and if they are asking for digital controller, you can draw this diagram, multivariable CISO, okay, of digital, and this is a digital controller block diagram. So I have given you another very good block diagram in my PPT. PPT is uploaded, you can prepare that. And what is a example? What is a case of digital controller? That is a automatic aircraft landing system. Only the horizontal control you have talked about. So there is a radar and there is a controlling unit, there is transmitter, and what are the parameters that is causing the controller to deviate from its course. So all these things are explained today. So officially the course wise the module 1 is over. So now there are two things. We will be solving many more numericals in the coming 1 or 2 sessions. That may be regular session, that may be extra session. I will tell you, I will solve a lot of numerical, get printout and give it to you. Get PDF and upload in the scheme. I'll do that. And many of you are have not submitted experiment 1. So submit it today itself as soon as possible. And experiment 2, what all things are to be written. What all things, 19-page document is given to you. Now you just have to check every of this output. So tomorrow we will be having a lab session, extra lab session tomorrow from 3 to 5. So we'll be recording it, we'll be uploading it. So as many students as possible, you please attend tomorrow's session. So tomorrow only we will decide what is to be done in experiment number 2 and how much to be written. So by next Tuesday, before next Tuesday, you have to submit the experiment number 2 as well. It will be easier for you now because the document is now with you. Only you have to check whatever output you are getting in a screenshot in MATLAB, that you have to attach with your output your document and you have to upload. Okay, so that's all from my side. Thanks for joining. Again, we will meet next week. I think on Monday we are having a class, but before that, we will meet tomorrow at 3 p.m. This notes lecture PPT YouTube link will be uploaded by today itself in your Google Classroom. So theory wise, this module is over. Now numericals we have to solve. Sir has uploaded some numerical. It looks difficult, but they are not that difficult. I will solve it and I will give you all the solutions. Thank you. Bye.